Hello and welcome to Coffee with Jane. Today I'm going to be interviewing Ritchie and we're going to be talking all things health, wellness, confidence and businesses. So my name's Jane and I have a confidence coaching business. I help people with holistic therapies, coaching to help them to create a better life for themselves, to step into their power and to let go of the past and consciously expand into their future. Because procrastination, self-sabotage, being overcritical and self-doubt creeps into our lives, and all of a sudden we can wake up and think, oh gosh, look around, I don't like anything here. Well, that's where I help, helping with really simple 7-step processes to get clear, to get clarity, confidence, and a plan to move forward with your life. So, Sue, if you could introduce yourself and your business, that would be fab.
Thank you, Jane. It's really great to be here. Yes, I'm Sue Ritchie, and I help business women who are stressed out, who are literally busting a gut, pounding away on that treadmill, looking after everybody else, but actually not looking after themselves. And what I help them to do is to rebalance, to refocus, and to revitalize. But actually, it's about doing things differently. So, still being successful, but doing it in a kinder and gentler way. And rather than pushing and struggling, it's more about allowing and attracting success into your life, because life is just too short. And I think the thing is, what I've noticed, everybody sort of focuses on making money and driving their business, thinking that at some point in the future they're going to reap the rewards and enjoy life and have fun and whatever. But the reality, unfortunately, is for most cases, and certainly in mine, and a lot of clients that I work with, that future isn't guaranteed. And I know that if you continue on that pattern and that path, it's not a matter of if you're going to get sick, it's a matter of when. And then that has a huge impact, not only on your own life, but your business and everything else around you as well, your family, your relationships, everything in life.
Yeah, definitely. I had my sort of health awakening when I was coming up to 30, and I'd had a very healthy childhood. I was a strong, healthy kid, but from about probably teenage years onwards, my eating habits weren't very good.
Yeah.
And then from 15 onwards, I was drinking, I was smoking, and I was doing drugs. So all over, not very healthy choices there. So by the end of my 20s, it was catching up with me big time. I was lethargic, I was overweight, I certainly couldn't run for a bus or anything like that. I would just be totally out of breath. I had zero stamina. That's all right. Yeah, I had zero stamina, and I was constantly bloated and constipated. IBS, basically. And yeah, getting coughs, colds, all of that kind of thing, and it wasn't shifting. They just stick around. And it was only when I decided, sorry, I've got your phone went, I've got a puppy here who's getting on my lap trying to eat me. And it was, I kind of looked around my life. I had one of those moments, looked around my life at 30, and I was like, I don't like anything here. don't like the job I'm in. It's 12-hour shift work for the ambulance service. I did like it at first, but I hated working nights and weekends.
Wow.
Um, and it was a very work hard, play hard zone as well. And it didn't fit in. That's the puppy falling off the chair. It didn't fall. it didn't set in with what I really wanted in life. In fact, nothing did back then. So I decided to start making some changes. So can you tell me about the moment where you had yours is very different to mine, but that health moment where you look around and you're like, oh, it's either your health or, oh, I should come to say hello, say hello, your health or your whole life in my case, and you're like, what's going on? It's time to make a change. What was your moment?
Well, my moment was getting to a point, and it was about probably getting on for about 10 years ago now. And it was a point of suddenly, feeling like I had absolutely no energy. I had brain fog. I'd always had a good memory, and my memory was just horrendous. And there were days when, I thought, God, am I actually going literally mad? It was quite scary, to be honest. And, I had pains in my joints. I was having sort of recurrent cystitis, and life wasn't very good. But, and I was also like, 2.5 stone overweight, heavier than I am now. Nothing I did made any difference to that.
Yes,
and I
same
suppose really
here.
from a sort of, emotional point of view, I was really at a point where I was feeling very unfulfilled, very unhappy. And when I went to my GP, it took about 3 or 4 visits with being told I just had a virus before finally I had a blood test and I got a diagnosis. And when I got the diagnosis, my GP told me that I had Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disease that affects your thyroid gland. And because I've sort of, been involved in sort of alternative stuff and alternative health things before, I sort of said, oh, okay, I can get my immune system back on track and I can get myself well again. And it was, I was really quite stunned and shocked actually with the sort of, well, it was almost like, I was being attacked to say that, that's impossible. You're going to be on the medication for the rest of your life. And that was like, whoa, okay. So you're telling me that I'm going to feel like I feel now, which was dreadful.
Yeah.
So, maybe, I don't know how long I might live. It could be 20 years, could be 30 years, might be 40 years. And I'm going to feel like this for all that time. Because I've always been active. I love doing stuff. I love traveling. And I, was sort of had dreams that if I have grandchildren, I'd, see myself chasing them on the beach or running around the garden. And the thought of, not being able to do any of those things was like, sorry, for me, that's just not acceptable.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that just accept that that diagnosis, and don't search for the alternatives or even know anything else about what else is out there, because there's more than just one system. Allopathic medicine is one system, and there's hundreds, thousands of other systems that we can tap into. So tell me, because I'm all about alternative therapies, and I work for the London Ambulance Service, so I'm also positive about allopathic medicine as well. I think there's really a space for all of these therapies and like medicine systems in our community today. And some work for some people and some work for others, and it's about, you know, really having that flow, which I hope one day, you know, we'll get back to, and that will be on offer. You'll be able to have all of these wonderful things on the NHS. Who knows? But
Who
what
knows?
did
Well, I hope so.
yeah, what did you search for then after that? You left there and you thought, no, I'm not taking this as this is going to be my life for the rest of, you know, the next 20, 30 years, whatever. What happened next?
Right. Well, what happened next was that I started to do, well, I suppose the first thing was I decided that I would do everything I could to find out how I could get myself well again.
Mm.
So that meant actually starting doing research into my condition, what it was all about, and, you know, doing that on a regular basis. But it was all about as well making the decision that I had to take time out for myself. I had to live life differently because, you know, what I'd realized, thank goodness, that, you know, this did make me wake up and start thinking about how I was living my life and how it really wasn't serving me. Because, you know, life was all about work and about everybody else, but I'd let go of all of the things that, you know, made me feel good, you know, I enjoyed, because there was never any time for that. And, you know, and even to the extent of work took precedence over, you know, if I had you know, was going out socially with a friend or a group of friends, if suddenly, you know, a client wanted, you know, some work and they needed it done urgently, then I would cancel that social engagement and do the work.
Yeah.
And, you know, and over the years, you sort of start doing less and less of the things that really, you know, make you feel good, which is crazy. So the key things that I decided was that in order to take time out for myself to get well, I had to put in some really strong boundaries around the amount of time I spent in work and the amount of time I spent on myself. And that I was very good at that. And what I really learned from that was actually when you set that deadline, it's amazing how productive you become. And you know, you realize that a lot of the time, even though you're working long hours, many of those hours are not really productive at all.
I know that there are, you know, there is data to support that now, and a lot of companies such as, you know, kind of the modern Google and Facebook companies, they are reducing the hours that people work, because they know they're more, you know, you get more productivity out of people in perhaps a 6 hour day than you do an 8, 9, 10, 12 hour day. And they, I assume they're getting paid the same amount, because yeah, the productivity is there. They're getting more work done. They're happier. And obviously happiness plays a mega part in that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, for me also, it was actually, you know, making the decision that I needed to start putting myself first, putting my needs first. Because what I learned was that when I started, you know, doing more of the things that I love that made me feel good, I started to show up better, if you like. And, you know, and your sort of mood's better and everything. So when you're dealing with, you know, like your husband or your partner, you know, in my case, my husband, your family, everything is strange. And I think it's difficult for people to realize this, because it's like everything else starts to shift as if by magic. When you actually feel good and you're positive and you're talking positive to yourself, you can everything. And I, you know, it's because everything's about energy. So when your energy level is much better, then magic can start to happen without you, you know, really in many ways doing anything. And, you know, for me, one of the big things was the negative talk. That my negative voice is absolutely vicious. And, you know, I can tell you there have been many nights over my life where it's been having a go at me all night long, you know, beating myself up over, you know, sometimes crazy when you look back on it, but just because I said something to somebody, And he went, why did you say that? You shouldn't have said that. You could have done this
Yes,
better. You could
repeating
have
the
done that.
conversations over and over again in your head. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been there. I know many of my clients have been there too, and I'm sure the people watching this interview will be nodding their heads right now.
So I really had to get a grip of, how to deal with that negative voice and start talking, positively to myself, because I think what's interesting is once you become aware of that negative voice in your head and become more conscious of it, then you can start to deal with it, if you like, and tell it to to go away. But also I started, like, having a daily routine where when I wake up in the morning and when I go to bed at night, I tell myself how amazing, how wonderful I am, and tell myself good things about myself. And also, if I had something going on happening that I felt sort of challenged and perhaps didn't feel very confident about, that I'd actually, tell myself that it was all going to go well, I'd get the result that I wanted, and actually started sort of visualizing as well in my head, seeing me getting the result that I wanted. And through those things, things started to shift fairly quickly.
Fantastic. And these are all things like the law of attraction, the law of vibration. Everything around us it vibrates and has its own frequency. And now this, thanks to quantum physics, all of this has got so much proof to it. So we're not just kind of being airy fairy. This stuff is real. Everything on this planet has a frequency and is vibrating. And what we feel and think and do all have vibrations to them, frequencies, and we get to call more of that in. So in my 20s, when I had the negative mind chatter and I was just thinking about, oh, what am I, getting through the week to get to the weekend to go out and party. And of course, what did I get more of? I just got more and more and more and more of that. And then when I was coming into my 30s, I was like, oh no, I don't want this anymore. So I had to do a really, I did a 2-month life transformation, and the negative mind chatter was still there, but I was then consciously aware of it. I was able to start making the choices to think differently, to feel differently. And the things that the food and food and everything else, I was putting into my body, that affects what you think of. I know now I live a really clean lifestyle, but when I go sort of unhealthy, and to me that means maybe eating like cakes or chips or something like that. One-offs don't affect me at all. But if I had a week or two of just eating like processed foods and stuff like that, not only do I feel sluggish, but my mind, the negative mind chatter is kicking in. So it's almost like not only do the kind of toxins that we eat affect our physical self, they toxify your mind as well.
They do. But I think that's an interesting one because, as I said, what I discovered was that the root cause of the autoimmune disease, and that's for all autoimmune diseases, and actually it's the key thing that underpins our health totally, is the state of your gut microbiome.
Yes.
And it was learning that, and by going through a process to detox and rebalance my gut microbiome, but also, as you were saying, changing my diet. My diet wasn't too bad from a healthy point, point of view. But I did have to get rid of gluten. I did have to, actually, I'd already got rid of dairy quite a long time ago, but taking gluten out of my diet and also sugar. And once I actually did that, within, a couple of months, my energy started to change. My health started to improve. I got rid of all the brain fog. I got rid of all the memory came back. And amazingly enough, I actually lost 2.5 stone in weight with literally, it was
Yeah.
doing nothing, if you like.
Yes.
Just going through this process. And then, within 18 months, over the next 18 months, I was able to actually just reduce my medication and recover.
And are you off your medication
Yeah, I've been
completely?
off medication now for, well, probably 6 years or so.
Wow. And
Um,
if they do the test on you now,
I have
that
no antibodies.
no, doesn't show up.
No.
Absolutely crystal clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that amazing? Isn't that such a wonderful success story? And it's so unfortunate that you were told in no uncertain terms to like just take the medication, sort of take the medication, be quiet and go home and live with your suffering, please. Now,
Well,
thankfully, not all doctors are like that, though.
no. I think
Yeah.
it's changing a little bit now.
Yes. So it's really good to get these success stories out. Not to I can't think of the word, but just to bring a bit of consciousness into the world that we can affect and transform our health by what we eat, or the micro, like you say, the micro, what's it called,
Biome.
system and biosystem in the gut, definitely. So how did all of this affect your business?
Wow, that's interesting, because I think that, what I'm going to say actually is that the biggest aha moment for me was when I actually realized that all the bad things that have happened in my life, as well as all the good things, I was actually responsible for them. I created them through my thoughts, my behaviors, and my beliefs.
Yes.
And whilst, I'm not saying it was easy to take that on board, it was pretty tough.
No, responsibility is a big one that I work with my clients as well. Yeah.
But once I'd done it, it was like, wow, okay. Because if I'm responsible through my behaviors, my thoughts, and my beliefs for my life, then actually I can create the life that I want to live, because I have that power now to do that. And it might not be simple, but in some ways it's actually easy.
Yeah.
And so I then decided, right, what is the life I want to live? And I think one of the things I've noticed, and when I work with my clients, it's very difficult for us to actually think about what we really want.
Yes. Do you know what the way I do it with people, especially as UKers, is I write a list of all the things you don't want in your life.
Yeah.
And then I flip it over. I said, okay, right, you don't want that, because people find it really, really easy to go, I don't want all of these things. And then it's like, okay, instead of, I don't want to work late every night, what do you want instead? What's the positive? So that's the way I do it. How do you do it with your clients?
Well, yeah, in a similar way, really. And I very much, most people focus, when we look at our life, all we tend to focus on is money and business.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be our focus. And it's like all the other things in life, we just let it happen, rather than actually deciding what we want, how we want it to look like, how do we want to feel, how do we want it to go. So one of the key things that I do is I'm very much about working with people holistically. So we work on mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
And health is the linchpin of this, because if we don't focus on our health, then actually we have nothing else. So if our health isn't in a good place, then the rest of our life isn't going to be great either.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things about health that I learned from my own personal experience is that the reality is, when we don't nurture ourselves, and that means, feeding our bodies good food and treating it kindly, it's actually us punishing ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is about us not having that self-love and self-worth and self-value. And I think it's so sad because, you know, as women, and so many women, I don't know why, but because something to do with, must be to do with the way we're brought up or our culture. But, you know, we seem to think so little of ourselves. And it's crazy because, you know, most women have got some amazing gifts to share with the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I recognized in myself that, you know, I was hiding away, and I wasn't, you know, because I wasn't taking care of myself, I wasn't showing up as the best version of myself. And it really is important because, you know, we are worth it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. That really resonates with me. And when I became pregnant with my daughter, and I went through pregnancy and maternity leave, and that was the first time in a very, very long time that I felt successful, that I felt like that I loved my body, that I was amazed at how amazing I was. Now, I know pregnancy can be a million miles apart for every woman, but that was my experience. I was like, wow, I just performed a miracle. My body is absolutely amazing. And that was a real not slap in the face, but you know, a wake up call, because there was nowhere else in my life that I was saying that I was amazing and that I was good and I was successful at something, even though I'd had many successes.
Yeah.
Up until that point, it just allowed me to look at life, and the way I viewed myself, in a very different way. And I think from that moment on, I was able to start appreciating myself and actually celebrating the successes in my life. And it really does make a massive difference, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's it's certainly something I recognised in myself. But, and you know, actually, even now there are times when you know, I sort of look back. Well, what have I achieved this year or something? And it's like at first you think, well, I don't think I've achieved anything really, and then slowly you start looking and think, oh yeah, actually, okay, yes, that and that and that and that. And we
Yes.
do struggle to do that. And I think it's interesting what you're saying about being pregnant, because one of the things that, you know, I encourage with women who are thinking about starting a family is that it's really important to get your health into a really good place a good while in advance, probably a year, 18 months before you actually want to conceive.
Yeah.
And, you know, actually key to that is getting the gut in a really good place as well, because a baby will, you know, if it's born vaginally, will inherit the mother's gut microbiome. So if your gut microbiome isn't very good and you've got health issues going on, then unfortunately, and it's sad to say, you know, that your baby is going to, you know, not be starting off in the best
So
place from a health
interesting.
point of view.
Yeah.
And if your baby gets born through cesarean section, then it has no gut microbiome, it inherits it. So everything you do in terms of feeding it and its environment and everything is what will create the gut microbiome for that child. So, but also I think, you know, to me, health is not just about the physical, it's actually about the mental state and where you are, and getting yourself in a good place so that you really feel good about yourself, you're giving yourself really nice positive talk and you're loving yourself. And then, you know, I think you then move into parenthood coming from a real place of, you know, positivity and stuff, to be able to nurture your child in the best possible way and give them the best start in life.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I mean, my story, I'm not going to go into it today because it's a long story. But I was a single parent at 2 months pregnant. So there was a lot of stress and sadness in the first trimester for me. but I pulled in all of the help. I went and paid for XYZ therapies to help me release the grief and the sadness and the anger and everything else, and not pass it on to my child. And so I did kind of holistic therapies throughout pregnancy. I completely revamped my diet as well. So even if you're in a similar situation like I was, that it was a surprise baby and things didn't quite turn out the way you thought they were going to turn out, you can still transform. It doesn't have to be, the end. And when I lost 3 stone of weight, and that was through pregnancy and breastfeeding, and generally just putting myself first and loving myself and putting good foods, etc., into my body. And I now have an 8-year-old, yes, who is super confident and fit and healthy.
Fantastic.
And yeah, the only kind of physical thing that we've got going on is we've got some issues with the teeth. Now, the teeth, when are they formed? In the first trimester.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that interesting?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it really does. Yeah, your emotional and physical health is so important on all levels.
Yeah, emotional health is, and as part of my journey, over a number of years, is that, it's not only about the physical, but I actually had to heal a lot of emotional stuff and, traumas and stuff from childhood and things like that. And, what I would say to, anybody is that, it is about healing and letting go of the things that, that don't serve you. And, forgiveness is a huge thing that in my journey, particularly having to forgive my father, because he had a very negative impact on me, which, had a huge impact in, my adult life, if you like, on me feeling my self-worth and my self-value, because whilst he, probably did it from the best intentions, because our parents always do what they think is best, but they only, they're limited by their own knowledge, because we don't get a degree in parenting.
No.
And, he was always very critical of me and was telling me, why did you say that? You're stupid, and all these sorts of things. So that had a big impact. But being able to actually forgive him was just such a huge release.
Yes.
And I think sometimes people have a misconception about forgiveness, because what I learned is that forgiveness isn't something that you can just offload, if you like, and do all of the forgiving in one go. And sometimes it works like that. Sometimes you think you've actually done it,
and it pops up again,
and then something pops up and you realize that you haven't. And then you have to do another period of healing and forgiveness, if you like, to finally really do that. But when you actually do let go of it, and for me, what happened was my heart was really able to really open up, and I had this huge, immense feeling of, such huge love for my father. And it was just the most amazing experience to go through that, and to, be at peace with everything.
Yeah. Fantastic. Sue, I could talk to you all day.
Likewise, Jane.
I'm loving this. We've got a few more minutes left, so let's talk about the book. We are both co-authors in the book, The Voices of Hope. So tell me a little bit about your story. Is in there. You have a chapter all to yourself, telling your journey of hope. Now, we can't go into too much details about our story that's in the book, but how would you say, what made you decide to be a co-author, and yeah, tell us a little bit about that journey.
It's really, I suppose, why I wanted to be in the book and to share my story is that I really want I really want other women to really live the life that they really want to live. And you know, what I recognized is that, you know, life is too short, and it's too short to be struggling, pushing, fighting, and not really having fun and enjoying our life. And you know, we're all, instead of living for today and being in the moment, we're always living for tomorrow and what might happen. I'm doing this for something in the future. And we really have to just be in the moment and just enjoy every single day to the utmost. And you know, we should all love ourselves, love each other, support each other, because if everybody does that, we're all living, you know, in the best version of ourselves. And you know, it's about, I suppose, it's simply about voices of hope, but it's also about shining our light out into the world. And the more we can be the best version of ourselves, the more we can help other people. And I just want to really, I suppose, it's give hope to other people, and other women, I suppose, particularly. But actually, it's about, you know, it's not just about women; it's about men too, because men, you know, increasingly are facing the similar struggles that women are facing today in this, you know, busy world of having to, you know, be on this treadmill all the time. And I think it's really wanting people to realize that what's really important in life is connection with your family, connection with your children, being there for your children, spending that time. Because through my children's childhood, you know, I was a single parent for a lot of that time, as a, you know, working mother, you know, the breadwinner. So it was always very difficult making that, you know, balance between taking care of them and being with them and spending quality time with them, and you know, being the working mother as well. And those years go by so quickly.
They do.
And you know, and I think the other thing is that because of the busyness, we're always trying to, and we think children should be busy as well, so they should be going off to this class after school, doing this activity, doing that activity. And what I've learned is that actually, you know what children really want? They want to spend time at home with their parents, with their mother, with their father, doing the simplest of things.
Yes. Yeah.
Reading a book, cooking some food together. And we don't need to be doing all of this stuff.
No.
And you know, and that's really, you know, my mission is, you know, very much to help women to really start looking at life differently and start living life differently, so that, you know, they're enjoying life, they're having fun.
That is a perfect line to end on, I think. Thank you so much, Sue. I've had a wonderful time with you this morning, talking about all health and wellness things. Sue's got some renovations going on in the background. That's what you can hear now. But look, we got to the end. They've only just started making noise. This is my puppy. We're going to come and say goodbye.
Oh,
say goodbye. Goodbye.
He's beautiful.
Say hello.
Hello.
There you go. So thank you all so much for watching. We've put the links down below, so if you would like to contact Sue or myself for to do anything, to ask us questions, to come work with us, to see what we have to offer, and also to buy a copy of the book. All the links are going to be below this video, okay? So I look forward to seeing you all in the next Coffee with Jane, and I hope you've enjoyed this wonderful interview. Okay, bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.